very important part of machining any engine is getting the doors honed in a manner where they're perfectly... Welcome back, YouTube. This is another update for the 4G63 Monte Carlo. I got some stuff in. It didn't all come in this box, so don't get confused. Here are the two balance shaft bearings. I'm going to install these 180 out since I have a balance shaft delete. This is a garbage head gasket. I'll tell you why I need this in a minute. And then this, hold on, jump cut. On the way to the machine shop, we're taking the DSM. We're gonna do a little data logging and see how my tune's doing. It's a pretty nice day, huh? Nice. $55,118 miles on a 1995. Anyways, we're still data logging. The monitor's off, that way I don't kill my battery. Fun stuff. Here we are, Budlong Motorsports. Getting my machining done here. These are good guys. They don't rip you off and they do good work. Oh my god. Alright, so head gasket issues. So for anyone watching that's building an engine, you need to pay attention a little better because the knowledge base isn't the same across everywhere, right? So I just got off the phone with Cometic, right? They make head gaskets. And the reason I was on the phone with them in the first place is because the engine builder here was telling me I should be, you know, a half a mil to 1 millimeter bigger on the head gasket versus the bore. So I'm like, oh, that doesn't really sound right. Everybody always know they get 86 millimeter pistons, they get 86 millimeter head gasket, blah blah blah. Put it together, done, right? So we call Cometic, and Cometic confirms what my engine builder is saying. Their actual technical support at Cometic is saying you need to be a half a millimeter or 1 millimeter larger versus the bore. So if you have 86 millimeter pistons, you need 86.5 or 87 millimeter head gasket. You can run either one. So I call Extreme PSI, where I bought all the stuff from, right? Because their website doesn't say any like little in red notes, blah blah blah. So I call them, and everybody at Cometic, everybody at Extreme PSI is saying, oh, yeah, no, you got 86 millimeter pistons, you buy the 86 millimeter head gasket. You got 87 millimeter pistons, you buy the 87 millimeter head gasket. But that's just wrong. So I'm going to call Cometic back, let them know that one of their vendors doesn't know what the hell's going on apparently. And then I'm going to triple check to see, because Extreme PSI only has 86.5, or 86 and 87 at Extreme PSI. And I don't really want to be a whole 1 millimeter over. That just sounds like a lot. So I'm gonna call Cometic, see if they have an 86.5, and then I'm gonna ask them, since mine's all brand new sealed, if I could just do an exchange and pay shipping directly with Cometic and get an 86.5. But I don't know if they even make it. So we'll find out here shortly. First thing you're gonna do when we're putting this torque plate on is put in your studs that you're gonna be using, or identical ones, so you're torquing it down to the exact same values as you are when you put the head on. Okay, then you're gonna get an oversized head gasket. That way your machinist's stones don't hit the head gasket and damage his machinery, obviously. So I'm doing an 86 millimeter bore. This is an 87 millimeter head gasket. Then we're gonna put the plate on top of that, and the plate comes with these adapters. So you put that in, then you're going to use the washer and the ARP nut, and you're going to torque it down the same way you do a normal head to the same torque, right? So what this does is it puts pressure on the block, all the torquing pressures the same way the block is going to see the pressure with the head on it. But obviously you can't machine this with a head on it, so you use this torque plate. And this helps you get a more truer bore and keeps your clearances as close to they're going to be when you're actually running it. So we're going to bolt this up, torque it down to 90 foot-pounds, and then we're going to hone it out. So when we're measuring, this is the top before we hone it. So when he bored it, the bore was equal all the way down. We put a torque plate on it, and now when we go to the bottom, it'll change just slightly, about 1/1000th of an inch distortion towards the bottom. So using a torque plate to machine your block is going to help all your clearances, because think about when the piston's at the top, right? If you didn't use the torque plate at all, then at the top in your final numbers you torque it down, now your piston rings are going to see a 1/1000th larger bore towards the bottom. So this is just one more step to make it more efficient, more precise, and more reliable in the long run, especially if you're pushing big power. So make sure you do that. We just barely started doing this one piston, so let's see what it looks like when it's going. After honing, you should have a nice crosshatch like this, as compared to this one, which hasn't been done yet. It just looks raw. I'll get some more close shots, obviously, at the house when I can not have this huge torque plate in my way. The goal is to have this needle not move at all. So what's happening is, when it's at the top, it's less load. It hits the bottom, which is the bore is a little bit smaller by 1/1000th. It draws more current in order to spin the machine at the same RPM. So that's why we're seeing the load go up and down. So he's going to hone more at the bottom to equalize it, and then we're going to go ahead and that way when he's doing the final hone, it should just be dead center and not moving. Here's the 4G63 for the Monte. Just did a little bit of stuff. We measured some of the clearances. Noticed since it was a stroker, it was hitting a couple spots. So it was hitting this, which it's farther away on this side, so it doesn't hit. But I had to groove this out. And then I had to take a sliver, like it would still rotate, but you could feel it sort of barely touching. So it didn't hit the cylinder walls or nothing. But I just took off, because it was sort of squared up here. The edge was straight out, outside of the bore. So I rounded that off. So now I shouldn't touch. So now what I'm going to do is put it back together. And we're going to start checking the rotation, make sure that's good again. And then we're going to put the head on, set timing, and check my piston to valve clearance to decide if I want to get my deck shaved.